Good day, sir and classmates. We are the discussants for this lesson, the foundations of special education. So the outline of these lessons are objectives of special education, categories of exceptionalities. Third is the individual programs and plans, or the IEP. So special education is an educational program or service designed to meet the needs of children with special needs who cannot profit from general or regular education because of disabilities or exceptional abilities. So special education, also known as special needs education, aid education, exceptional education, exceptional student education, or the special education, or the SPED, the SEPD. So special education also is the instruction that is specially designed to meet the unique needs of a child with a disability. That means education that is individually developed to address a specific child's needs that result from his or her disability. So special education also aims to provide accommodated education for students with disabilities, such as learning disabilities. So learning disabilities, example is the dyslexia. In communication disorder, emotional or behavioral disorders, we have the ADHD. And then the physical disabilities, we have the osteogenesis imperfecta, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and then the spinal bifida, and Friedreich ataxia. And for development disabilities, we have the autistic spectrum disorder and intellectual disabilities and the other disabilities. For philosophical foundation, so we have the mental, the psychological, social, spiritual, or moral, and then the physical. So all the efforts to uphold the rights and dignity of children with disabilities primarily root from the philosophical understanding of man. So the general philosophy of special education is that all people have the ability to learn, regardless of their particular disabilities. The trend in public education has shifted from isolating special education students in separate classroom to mainstreaming them in the regular classroom for at least part of the day. So we have the Special Education Division Philippines Memorandum. It states that special education refers to the education of person who are gifted or talented, and those who have physical, the mental, social, or sensory impairment and cultural differences, so as to require modifications of the school curricula, programs, and special services and physical facilities to develop them to their maximum capacity. So these persons may be gifted or talented, fast learner, mentally retarded, visually impaired, hearing impaired, with behavior problems, orthopedically handicapped, with special health problems, learning disabled, speech impaired, and multiply handicapped. Just like what I have said earlier. So the philosophical foundation. So children with disabilities, we have to they should have the right as normal children do. So they must not be isolated nor locked down. So children also with disability must be treated as persons of dignity, and the needs should be provided. So children with disabilities have to treated them as the normal people. So we don't have to lock down or need to bully them. We must treat them as normal like us.
Good morning. This is Annalyn Benimeritos in continuation with our report about the special education. So, next is the basic philosophy of the special education. Every child with special needs has right to an educational program that is suitable to his needs. So, it is the philosophy of special education that to provide the special needs of those special learners, and of course to inline to have this program to suit that are suitable to their needs. Next is special education shares the regular education basic responsibilities of the educational system to fulfill the right of a child to develop in his full potential. So, of course, it is important that the government has these regular programs for have this regular educational program to develop the special to develop the potentials of every special learners. And it is important also to have this educational system that are suitable to them, and just like the normal educational system for our the normal learners. Next, we have this special objective of special education. So if you say objective of special education, it is the development of to develop the maximum potential of the child with special needs to enable him to become self-reliant, and shall be geared towards providing him with opportunities for a full and happy life. Of course, so it is their objective to maximum potential, to develop the maximum potential, to develop the potential of every special learners to have this self-reliant, and they will be independent, and they will be able to socialize, and to have this happy life, and to fulfill their happiness, of course, and to have this socialization to our community. Next is have this and to live like a normal individual. Next is have this specific objective of special education. It is the development and maximization of learning competencies, as well as the inculcation of values to make the learners with special needs as useful and effective members of society. So it is not just developing and giving them learning competencies, but of course giving them unlimited options, have these different options for their learning competencies to maximize their potentials, and of course inculcation of values. We will inculcate, we will inject, or I mean is we will uh, inculcate them about values, so that they will be able to live an effective member of our society. Ultimate goal of special education is the integration or mainstreaming of learners with special needs into the regular school system and eventually into the community. So we here is to mainstream, to inline our learners that are having those special needs, to have this regular school system just like the normal learners, to have this having this regular school system, we will eventually developing them and to introducing them into the community. Next is exceptionality. So if you say exceptionality, it is an individual or a child who has this exceptionality as has some area of functioning in which he or she is significantly different from an established norm. This definition includes both strength and disabilities and those with special gifts or needs. Just like this individual who has these abilities, but later on as he matures, um, we observe that he has these special gifts that is has this intellectually gifted. So it is an example of exceptionality. So in exceptionality, we have this learning ability, disabilities, developmental delays, emotional and behavioral disorders, communication disorders, hearing disabilities, physical disabilities. So that is all about my topic, and good morning.
The continuation of our reports in number 7, multiple disabilities, concomitant impairments, the combination of which causes such severe educational needs that they cannot be accommodated in special education solely for one of the impairments. This means that the student or learner has more than one disability. These are verbal, hearing, learning, autism, physical, and intellectual. The specifics of these diagnoses are almost endlessly variable and great care needs to be taken to adjust individual education support to the child's particular needs. Multiple disability means concomitant impairments such as intellectual disability, blindness, or orthopedic impairments, the combination of which causes such severe educational needs that they cannot be accommodated in special education programs solely for one of the impairments. With some children, however, the cause is known. For example, Sharon disability were caused by a lack of oxygen at birth. Other causes can be include chromosomal abnormalities, premature birth, difficulties of afterbirth, poor development of brain or spinal cord, infection, genetic disorder. The parents will decide what types of support and services the children needs now and in the future. A key apart at the definition is that the combination of disability causes the students to have severe educational needs. Those educational needs must be severe enough that they cannot be addressed by providing special education services for only one impairment. Number 8, orthopedic impairments. A severe orthopedic impairments that adversely affect a child's educational performance includes congenital anomalies, example, clubfoot, caused by disease, example, poliomyelitis, other causes, example, cerebral palsy. The term includes impairments caused by congenital anomaly, impairments caused by disease, poliomyelitis, bone tuberculosis, and impairments from other cause cerebral palsy, amputations and fracture or burns that cause structures. These are some examples of orthopedic impairments: autism, blind and visual impaired, deaf and hearing line impaired, deaf, blind, emotional disturbances, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, and orthopedic impairments. Number 9. Other health impairments. Having limited strength, vitality, or alertness, including a heightened alertness to environmental stimuli that result in limited alertness with respect to the educational environment due to chronic or acute asthma, ADD, ADHD, diabetes, epilepsy, a heart condition, hemophilia, lead poisoning, leukemia, nephritis, rheumatic fever, and sickle cells anemia adversely affects a child's educational performance. Number 10. Specific learning disabilities means a disorder in the one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understand or using language, spoken or written, that may manifest itself in the imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or to do mathematical calculation, including conditions. Specific learning disorder are neurodevelopmental disorders that are typically diagnosed in early school age. Children, although may not recognize until adulthood. They are characterized by persistent impairments in at least one of the three major areas: reading, written, expression, and or math. Learning disorder are categorized as mild, moderate, and severe. A combination and support services align with severity to facilitate a person's most effective functioning. Specific learning disability, if not recognized and managed, can cause problems throughout a person's life beyond having lower academic achievements. These problems include increased risk of greater psychological distress, poorer overall mental health, unemployment, underemployment, and dropping out of school. Okay na. Number 11. Speech or language impairment means a communication disorder such as stuttering, impaired articulation, a language impairment, or voice impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance, ability to put words together into sentences, struggle to learn new words and makes conversation, have difficulty following direction not because they are stubborn but because they do not fully understand the words spoken to them, make frequently grammatical errors when speaking. In number 12, traumatic brain injury, an acquired injury to the brain caused by external force, resulting in total or partial functional disability or psychosocial impairments or both, that adversely affects a child's educational performance. TBI or traumatic brain injury is sudden injury that causes damage to the brain. It may happen when there is a blow or bump or jolt to the head. This is a closed head injury. A TBI can also happen when an object penetrates the skull. This is the penetrating injury. The different types of traumatic brain injury are: first, closed brain injury and penetrating brain injury. Closed brain injury is what happen when there is non-penetrating injury to the brain with no breaks in the skull. Second, penetrating brain injury or open head injuries happen when there is a break in the skull, such as when a bullet pierces the brain. There are some Physical symptoms: if you have traumatic brain injury, loss of consciousness from several minutes to hours, persistent headaches or headache that worsens, repeated vomiting or nausea. 13. Visual impairment. An impairment in vision that, even with correction, adversely affect a child's educational performance. Visual impairments means this is a term experts use to describe any kind of vision loss, whether it's someone who cannot see at all or someone who was partially vision loss. Some people are completely blind, but many others have what's called legal blindness. Visual impairments is not able to see objects at a distance like on whiteboard or blackboard, having a trouble reading or learning to read, and participating in the class, not able to focus on objects or follow them. Miss often that rub their eyes a lot, having chronic eye redness or sensitivity to light. Low vision and blindness and refer to any degree of impairments to a person's ability to see that affects his or her daily life. There are common types of visual impairments. First, loss of central vision. The loss of central vision creates a blue or blind spot, but side peripheral vision remains intact. Second, loss of peripheral side vision. Third, blurred vision. Fourth, generalized haze, extreme light sensitivity, and the last, night blindness. The leading cause of vision impairments and blindness are uncorrected reproductive errors and cataracts. The majority of the people with vision impairments and blindness are over the age of 50 years. However, vision loss can affect people of all ages.
There are 13 legal categories for exceptionalities. Number 1 is autism. Number 2 is deaf blindness. Number 3, deafness. Number 4, emotional disturbance. Number 5, intellectual disabilities. And number 6, hearing impairment. Number 7, in multiple disabilities. And number 8, orthopedic impairment. Number 9, other health impairment. And number 10, specific learning disability. Number 11, speech or language impairment. Number 12, traumatic brain injury. And the last one is visual impairment. Number 1 is autism. A developmental disability significantly affecting verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. There are 3 primary features in autism. First is restricted range of social interaction. Second is impaired communication skills. And the last one is persistent pattern of stereotypical behaviors, interests, and activities. And number 2 is deaf blindness. A concomitant hearing and visual impairments, the combination of which causes such as severe communication and other developmental and educational needs that they cannot be accommodated in special education programs solely for children with deafness or children with blindness. Number 3 is deafness. A hearing impairment that is so severe that the child is impaired in processing linguistic information through hearing or without implication that adversely affects a child educational performance. So, yan yung mga PP. Number 4, emotional disturbance. A condition exhibiting one or more of the following characteristics over a long period of time and a degree that adversely affects a child educational performance. There are ways in emotional disturbance. Inability to learn that cannot be explained. Inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers. And inappropriate types of behaviors. General pervasive mood of unhappiness. And the last one, a tendency to develop physical symptoms of fears with personal or school problems, or schizophrenia. Number 5 is hearing impairment. An impairment in hearing, whether permanent or fluctuating, that adversely affects a child's educational performance, but that is not included under the definition of deafness. Number 6 is intellectual disability. A significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning existing concurrently with defects in adaptive developmental period that adversely affect a child's educational performance. Number 7 is multiple disabilities. Concomitant impairments, the combination of which causes such as severe education needs that they cannot be accommodated in special education solely for one of the impairments. Number 8 is orthopedic impairments. A severe orthopedic impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance. There are includes in orthopedic impairments. First is congenital anomalies. Example is clubfoot. Second is caused by disease. Example is poliomyelitis. Other causes is cerebral palsy. Number 9 is other health impairments. Having limited strength, vitality, or alertness, including a heightened alertness to environmental stimuli that results in limited alertness with respect to the educational environment. Due to chronic or acute asthma, ADD or ADHD, disabilities, epilepsy, a heart condition, hemophilia, lead poisoning, leukemia, nephritis, rheumatic fever, and sickle cell anemia. Adversely affects a child's educational performance. Number 10. Specific learning disability. A disorder in one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding or in using language. Spoken or written that may manifest itself in an imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, through the mathematical discussions. Number 11. Speech or language impairment. A communication disorder such as stuttering, impaired articulation, language impairment, or a voice impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance. Number 12 is traumatic brain injury, an acquired injury to the brain caused by an external force resulting in total or partial functional disability or psychosocial impairment or both that adversely affects a child's educational performance. And last one is visual impairment. An impairment.
So, I will discuss about the individual programs and plans. So, what is individual programs and plans? Individualized Educational Program or the IEP is a document developed by a team of persons from a child attending school system who have direct relationship to helping the student with special needs and to be able to reach his potential goals. So, this person have children or have disabilities. So, the purpose of the IEP is to provide a plan to help a student meet individual outcomes or goals beyond his or her current skills. So, for this reason, an understanding of what students can and cannot do is essential to the individual education planning process. IEP amended 2004. So, this idea that must include information about students' functional ability to perform and academic levels. So, must include measurable yearly goals that are academic and functional. So, parents to be provided progress reports. So, um, in this program, parents are very important to give attention to their child. Members of the IEP team. So these are the members, a local representative from school agency, the child's teacher, one or both of the child parents or responsible party or the guardians, the child where appropriate, other individuals at the discretion of the parent or agency or other services. So these are the services. Types of related services must be attentive, and these are the supporting services to give our child give progression or progress. Transportation, speech language pathology, audiology services, interpreting services, psychological services, physical therapy, occupational therapy, recreation including therapeutic creation, social work services, school nurse services, and counseling services, including rehabilitation counseling. So these are the services must be attentive on uh, this program. So we must give our support if we are in these services. It can help our students to have progress in her education, or physical, and um, through physical, educational, or any other lack of is his or her ability. So, considering in developing IEP, so the assessment of students' needs identifies strengths and weaknesses. So, as a teacher of a child, so of these students, so we must need the strengths and the weaknesses of a child, so specific child. So their weaknesses, so we must give attention to those weaknesses and details of disability that are being addressed. So um Like example, she or he is a deaf, so uh, his or her ability is um, with those um, support by the services, he can do process or progress. Individualization of a IEP, so classification, including classification, parental involvement, teacher involvement, and collaboration of the best suits students' needs. So this involvement or the person involved these individualization of IEP must collaborate to have um, better progression to their child. The IEP in the classroom, so to include accommodation, to include modification on classwork, to use different assessment tool if needed to measure child's academic abilities. Teachers shall be active part of child's planning and must be modification. So the teacher must active and attentive to their child. So and have modified skills to teach the specific child. The placement decision. Parents are to be included as a member of IEP. Placement decisions cannot be reached without IEP team agreement. So the placement decision. So it is very important that the team must collaborate and support each other for the prosperity or the for the progress success of the program. Parents and team consensus about aspects related to child places, needs and placement. So reviewing and revising the IEP. Reviewed yearly, reassess annual goals, revise the IEP to address in any lack of experience progress, results of any reevaluation, info provided by the parents, anticipated needs. So we must yearly rev- we must review yearly and assess uh, annuals every 6 months annual. So excuse me, I'm wrong. We need to assess, especially the teacher, to assess annual goals, revise the IFP address if AD lack expected process, so we must um, better give attention to those lack to their weaknesses. So we must